The information contained herein is provided for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. The content of this show contains general information and may not reflect current legal developments, verdicts, or settlements. Any information contained in this show is not intended to be a substitute for legal counsel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Family Man. I am Grant Gisondo, your host, the owner of the law offices of Grant Gisondo, PA, a full-service family law firm located in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Call us today for your free in-person consultation for any family law case, 561-530-4568, or online at sunshinedivorce.com. We will fight for you each and every step of the way, 561-530-4568. Today we have a very special guest with us, a Mr. Matt Brickman. Say hello, Matt.
Hey, Grant. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Matt is a mediator, a fully Supreme Court licensed mediator. Is going to be talking to us today all about our show, talking all about mediation. I happen to love mediation, so this is going to be a great show. But if you missed last week's show or you want to go back and listen to last week's show, it is now up on my website at sunshinedivorce.com. Just click on live radio show and you can hear us. Last week we spoke all about parental alienation, a very, very sad topic. That's why today we're doing a little bit more of a happier, lighter topic, talking about mediation. But to tell you a little bit about parental alienation, in case you forgot or in case you haven't had a chance to listen to that show yet, it's the most frequent form of abuse. It's really a big deal, and mark my words, it is absolutely abuse. Who is the victim in that abusing thing? Well, there's actually two victims. The child, the person that's actually being kind of overpowered, as well as the other parent. Why does this occur? Well, we spoke about all that in the last show. But to give you a quick definition once again about parental alienation, that's the psychological manipulation of a child into showing unwarranted fear, disrespect, or hostility towards a parent. Why is that so bad? What happens? Well, the result is you get a very long-term, permanent type of manipulation from a child, which can lead to developmental, behavioral, cognitive, and physical symptoms. You could lead to panic attacks. You could start seeing these kids doing terrible in school. Why do the courts hate this so much? Well, they hate it because the children really don't even know they're being abused in a lot of situations. And it really manipulates a child into feeling and thinking things that they shouldn't be thinking. And you're basically creating an unnecessary or unwarranted sense of fear towards the other parent. It's really a big problem. It's something that I'm happy to talk to you about a little bit more if you have any questions about it. I did get a lot of feedback from last week's show, so I want to give everyone a thank you for shooting me all those emails about parental alienation. And of course, we're here to help. But that's enough about parental alienation. Let's focus on this week's topic. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm here with Mr. Matt Brickman. He is a licensed mediator. Today, we're going to talk all about mediation. Mediation is something that occurs in pretty much every single family law case. Before you could even get to court, you kind of have to mediate. So if you remember back to a couple shows when I was explaining you the process of a family law case, and I mean whether it be a child custody case, a child support case, a divorce case, dissolution of marriage, whatever type of case it is, you're going to end up at mediation at some point. Now, you have the option, depending on what you're making, you can go to a courthouse mediation or you can end up with a private mediation. Today, Mr. Brickman, he's here. He's a private mediator. He doesn't work for the courthouse. And a lot of times he will actually do things for people that can't get into the courthouse, or he'll even do them at the courthouse if we can't find a location. But mediation is essential. So here's the process. Basically, you're going to file your case. You're going to do some discovery. Remember, we spoke all about mandatory disclosure, request for production last week. Spoke all about that already. After that's all done, we want to put people in a position to actually settle their case. And the way we do that is in mediation. And a mediator is basically a third party. He's a neutral party that goes back and forth between the actual litigants or the parties in the case and tries to resolve a lot of the issues in the case. So I'm using a lot of big words. What does this actually mean? So basically an issue in a case. For example, issue number one, mom and dad can't agree on how they're going to share seeing their minor child in common. So that's an issue. That's a problem in the case. So in one room, you have the attorney, maybe myself and you, and in the other room you have another attorney and the client. And then you have the mediator who kind of goes back and forth between the two rooms and tries to come up with solutions. So that's basically the way mediation works. And we're going to get much more in depth with how all that works here in a minute. But let me stop talking for a minute. Let me introduce Matt Brickman. He said hello before. Matt, you are a licensed Supreme Court certified family mediator. Is that right?
Family is one of my certifications, Grant.
Okay, what other certifications do you have?
So I started out doing the county civil, and I actually started my career 11 years ago doing working in the courthouse. And so I was, as you had already mentioned, sometimes you go to the courthouse and you'd have a mediator there. That's actually where I started. So I cut my teeth, working in the courthouse. And when I started doing mediation, I did not want to just jump in and start dealing with people's families. It was a lot. It was very overwhelming. It felt like just an immense responsibility because, as it is, we're dealing with their retirements, their homes, their kids, all the things that they work so hard for. So I said, let me just, figure out this mediation thing on a small scale. Under $5,000. You really can't screw up under $5,000. And so I started out with county civil, but I always wanted to do family. Family, when I decided I wanted to do mediation, I wanted to do family. So I started with county civil and then went and then did family. Then I got certified doing dependency mediation. And then did appellate mediation. And then I got certified as a trainer. And then I wrote the curriculum for the family certification training, but I got so busy teaching or so busy doing that I haven't had time to teach. But it was a lot of fun, and family is really my passion because of how I got into it, my background, and everything. And so primarily what I do is family, but I've done everything from small business mergers, parent-teen conflicts, small claims disputes,
So
personal
you're
injury. Slightly.
How many mediations do you think you've done in your career up to this point? Take a guess.
Well, let's see. I mean, I average somewhere just under about 300 a year.
Okay. And you've been doing this for how many years?
Almost 11 years.
Okay, that's a lot of mediations.
Yeah, it's a lot of mediations.
Okay, and this is your full-time job?
Full-time job.
This is all you do?
All I do. Don't do anything else,
Okay.
so...
and you specialize in family?
Specialize in family.
Okay. So what exactly... When you say you specialize in family, what exactly is a family law mediation as compared to, let's say, a civil or some of the other type of mediation? So what puts you in the family law realm?
Well, family law realm, we're either dealing with paternity issues or we're dealing, so, you may have a mom and dad that, got together, had a kid, never got married, and now, things aren't working out, so they've got to split ways, and we've got to do the same things that we would do in a divorce, where we set up a timesharing plan, we set up child support. We're just not dealing with their stuff. Right. If they purchase stuff together, they're going to civil court for that. We're not dealing with that in family court. So that would be a paternity. Otherwise, in family, we're dealing with a divorce case where two parties got married, and now we've got to deal with everything: alimony, child support, time sharing, equitable distribution, marital home, retirement accounts. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. You may get two people that they may have nothing. All we're doing is, okay, you're taking your debt, you're taking your assets, everybody's keeping their own stuff. We're just going to figure out time sharing and child support.
Right.
But they can get much more complex.
Folks, and one thing that's phenomenal about mediation here is that I've worked with Matt countless times, would you say? I mean, I don't think I could count the amount of times we've done mediation together in cases where we've brought Matt in.
I've been tracking it, but I don't have that with me.
Okay, good. Don't.
No,
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Matt does so great is he's extremely creative on coming up with different ideas and different games to try to get people to see the light of day. And we're going to talk about those a little bit later in the show. I know we're still kind of just laying some groundwork here today. So obviously you can hear he's been doing this for 11 years, 300 mediations a year. I mean, when you think about that, that's 65 days off a year. So he's in mediation more than he's actually doing anything else. And as a full-time mediator, this is what he does. He's phenomenal. Now, Matt, you own your own company.
Yes.
What is the name of your company?
I Mediate Inc.
I Mediate Inc. And your website?
It's iChatMediation.com, or you can also go to iMediateInc.com, either one.
Okay. And if you're interested in hiring Matt to maybe talk to about setting up a mediation, or you want to hear a little bit more about his qualifications, or ask him a question with something that you're hearing on today's show, how would people get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is email.
Email? Okay, what's your email?
Email and text message. Those are the two fastest. So my email is mbrickman@ichatmediation.com. And or you can text me on my cell phone, 561-262-9121.
Great. Okay, now, and a lot of you have my cell phone, so unlike Matt, please don't text me. Please call me. I want to hear your voices. Matt may be a little more new age than me where he wants text. I actually want to hear your voice. So if you're just tuning in, this is Grant Gisondo, the family man. We're talking to Mr. Matt Brickman today, the owner of iChat Mediation, telling us all about mediation. We got through a little bit about what mediation, how he became a mediator, his qualifications as a mediator. So now we're actually going to talk about what is mediation. So Matt, why don't you tell us what exactly is mediation? I gave a quick little brief overview of how it works, but do you actually have like a true-on definition of what a mediation is?
Yeah. So a mediation is a place where the two parties are in control, not their attorneys, not the mediator. The parties have an opportunity to take control of their case. So the general way that people work out a dispute is, say, for example, Grant, that you and your wife have a dispute. Well, the ideal situation is that you and your wife are going to discuss it and work it out amongst yourselves. But if you can't, the next level is you get a neutral third party to come in and maybe help you guys, facilitate that conversation and help you guys see maybe something from a different point of view, points, out the good points, the bad points, the highs, the lows, whatnot. If that still doesn't work, that's then when you can go to the next step and you get an advocate to go in front of a judge and then let, the highest authority then decide your life for you. But that's never a great idea to just submit all decision-making authority to a neutral person that doesn't really know the ins and outs, because you're not going to get those details that they're going to need to a judge in half a day, even 3 days. You're not going to get all of that. But in mediation, that's where we're really concerned about what's in the party's best interest, because when dealing with families, as you know, are so unique. They're structured completely different. Every family is different. They have different values, different ways they operate, different priorities. And so when we're restructuring, it's really what we're doing. We're not tearing apart the family. We're restructuring it. So when we restructure the family, it's so unique that mediation's a place where they can take control and create whatever agreement they want. So my job as the mediator my primary job as a mediator is to empower them to make their own decision. Now that may mean that I tell them things they want to hear and things they don't want to hear, but they need to have as many pieces of the puzzle. So if they choose to come to an agreement, it's not an agreement that is all one side or the other. That's not mediation, that's manipulation. But it's an agreement that they can look at the end of the day and be like, I don't love this, but I don't hate it. But you know what? I can live with this. And if you can live with it, I'll let you sign it. If you tell me, hey, look, Matthew, I can't live with it, I won't even let you sign it, because that's not mediation. That's manipulation. And I'm not there just to get people to sign. I'm there to empower them. Now, again, I may tell them things that they don't want to hear, but my job is to empower them. That means that they need to have all the pieces of the puzzle, because I will never let anybody say, hey, I'm not going to decide this. I'm going to let a judge decide. Go to court. And as you well know, things go sideways in court.
Absolutely.
They always do. I always tell people the two guarantees I can give you is, number one, there is no guarantee, and number two, it's going to cost you money to get there.
It does.
And that's the guarantee going to court. And so, but what I don't want is, I don't want someone to go to court and something goes sideways and they're going, oh my gosh, why didn't somebody warn me? Why didn't somebody tell me that was an option? If I knew that was an option, I would have made a decision. That's my job. My job is to empower them, to get creative, to think way outside of the box. And many times people go, that's an option? I'm like, yeah, that's an option. You can do anything you want in mediation as long as there's not a law that says that what you want to do is illegal.
As long as it's legal. That's the whole thing. Folks, he said something that's really, really important there that I'm going to mention again, because it's probably the most important thing that we're going to talk about today, is that in mediation, you stay in control. The parties stay in control. And what that means is that husband and wife, mom and dad, you get to make the decision on how the day turns out. Once you go to trial or once you go to court, you are powerless. Whatever that judge orders for that day is what you're stuck with, like it or not. And a lot of times for these family law trials, you're only getting a half day, a full day, maybe 2 days. It's pretty rare that you get a family law trial that goes on for a week. So, judges don't really get to know you the way a mediator gets to know you. So the second probably biggest thing that he said there is the cost. Yes, you have to pay for your mediation. Yes, you have to pay for your attorney to attend mediation, but it's nothing compared to what it's going to cost you to go to trial. Remember that I always say that for every hour that you're in trial, you're probably looking anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of prep time. Whereas with mediation, for every hour you're in mediation, you're probably dealing with maybe 15 to 30 minutes of prep time. So the cost savings in mediation is phenomenal. If you're just tuning in, this is Grant Gisondo, the Family Man. We're talking with Matt Brickman. Our today's topic is all about mediation. I'm the owner of the law offices of Grant Gisondo, PA, a full-service family law firm located in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Call me today for a free in-person consultation for any family law case, 561-530-4568, or online at sunshinedivorce.com. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back talking more about mediation.
Non-attorney spokesperson.
Without the proper training, diffusing a highly volatile bomb is not something you want to try by yourself. When a marriage is about to explode, the same wisdom applies. Hire a professional or pay the consequence.
Headed for divorce? Diffuse the matter with the guidance of the law offices of Grant Gisondo. Online at sunshine-divorce.com. That's sunshine-divorce.com. Main office in Palm Beach Gardens.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Grant Gisondo, the Family Man. I am the owner of the law offices of Grant Gisondo, PA, a full-service family law firm located in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Call us today for your free in-person consultation for any family law case, 561-530-4568, or online at sunshinedivorce.com. If you'd like to email me directly, you can do so at grant@sunshinedivorce.com. If you have a question about today's show, you have a question about a past show, you'd like to have a conversation with me, or you have a topic that you'd like to suggest to be heard on an upcoming show, you can call me at 561-530-4568. Shoot me an email, grant@sunshinedivorce.com. I'm joined today with Matt Brickman of iMediate Inc. He is a family law mediator, aside from being licensed to actually mediate just about every type of case that exists out there. But today we're talking about family law mediations. Now, Matt, you said that you gave me two website addresses just a moment ago. You gave me one that's imediateinc.com. And then you also said something about iChatMediate Inc. Or no, I'm sorry.
iChat Mediation.
iChatMediation.com. Okay. Now, two companies, both owned by you,
right,
but they do different things. That was pretty interesting. So what's the difference? What do they do?
All right. So iMediate Inc. is the main company, and iChat Mediation is under the main company, and that is the virtual platform and the virtual mediation that I have. So, like I told you, many years ago, I worked for the courthouse, and after working for them for a while, I went into work one day, and they're like, we went through our budget. We got to lay off all of our contract mediators. And so I'm driving home going, okay, now what? And so I had this idea, well, why not just go virtual, start doing some virtual mediation? So I started looking around, and this was about 7-8 years ago. So really before we had, video conferencing, and I mean, we had iChat, which was through Apple, and we had Skype, which was through Microsoft, and that's about it. Really didn't have conferencing platforms. And so I had an idea of, getting a virtual platform. So I contacted a number of companies just trying to find one, and I found some really young guy working at Cisco WebEx that I said, hey, do you have this type of platform I'm looking to build or whatnot? And he's like, we don't have anything like that, but tell me what you do. Let me see if we can figure it out. So had a number of conversations with him, and so Cisco built me a virtual mediation platform.
So all parties to a mediation could actually attend virtually.
Virtual.
So if mom and dad are in Florida, if dad and his attorney are in Florida and mom is in Europe.
Yes.
You can still mediate the case.
Yes, I mean, and I've done mediations around the state of Florida, virtual. I've even done them in the same city where the attorneys did not want to be in the same geographic location. So the attorneys stayed in their own offices, and the parties went to their office, and I stayed home, and we were able to get mediation done. I've done it where just like you said. I mean, I had a mediation last year in Sweden. Where one party was here, the other party was in Sweden. I've had one where the mother was on assignment in Singapore. I've done military divorces where they're on an Air Force base over in the Middle East and not able to get back here. I've done them where husband's on a battleship down in the Gulf of Mexico, and I've done them where they're in New York City. I've done them all over the U.S. and it's a great way to still be able to conduct mediation without having to take on an additional cost. You had talked about the cost of trial. There is a cost for mediation, but sometimes trying to get a party here that may have already relocated, or maybe it's a modification of something, and there would be an expense to have to fly down, get a hotel, get a rental car. This saves that cost, and it also allows attorneys that might have cases they just keep sort of brushing off because they're just trying to delay, kick the can down there. They don't know really like, how do we get this one done? Right. All of a sudden there's a platform for them to say, oh, we don't even have to, let's just schedule this. They don't even have to be here. And so in that platform, it's a lot on my end, because not only am I mediating, and as you well know, when I mediate, I'm also drafting. Mm-hmm. So I'm facilitating the conversation. I am drafting the agreement as we talk, which also saves time and a lot of money. And I'm also running this entire platform in the background. So everybody can appear on using a laptop, a cell phone, a tablet, a computer, whatever device. And I'm also able to treat it just like a mediation room. Just like you had said, sometimes in mediation, you may be in your office with a client, and in the conference room is the other attorney and their client. But sometimes we're all in the same room together. Right. Well, on this virtual platform that they built using the iChat mediation platform is we all start off together. And as each person talks, their camera goes live so you can see them. This is also very good because only the people that are allowed to be in mediation should be there. Well, so this way we know if somebody else is in the room listening, if somebody else, so, it adds a lot more than just a telephonic, call for mediation.
Brings a level of honesty to the table, which is nice.
And for me, I also get to read facial expressions and body language. Facial expressions are a lot of what goes into this that is lost on a telephone if you're doing telephonic mediation. And so everybody starts off together, but then let's say that you and your client say, hey, Matthew, we want to talk to you privately. And in your office, you and I could then step out and go into a different room. Well, how do you do that virtual? Well, Cisco built me a platform where I can create virtual rooms. So I go in and like I said, while I'm mediating, I'm conducting all this. So I go and I create a separate room, and I take you and your client and myself in a separate room and leave them in the main conference area. Right. And we go into a private room and we have a private conversation. We can talk, and I can bounce back and forth just like we would in the real world, but all in a virtual system.
See, that's phenomenal because, we're talking about cost, just going back a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why this is actually such an important platform and an important service. But going back to cost, I take cases in Tampa. I'll take cases in Jacksonville. I'll even take cases, Miami or in the Keys. And when you think about that, attorneys they charge for travel time. And to get me to Tampa, it's 3 hours to get me there of travel time, plus our time in court, and then 3 hours home. Jacksonville is about 5 hours. 5 hours to get me there, 5 hours home. You're paying for 10 hours, even if it's a 5-minute hearing. It's crazy. So if you have a case in Tampa, or maybe you live in West Palm Beach and you want to hire a local attorney, and you remember last 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the importance of hiring local attorneys for local rules and having open communications with them. You want me as your local attorney in West Palm Beach or Palm Beach Gardens, but you have a case that's in Tampa from 10 years ago that you now need modified. We could actually use Matt's platform, and you're not paying me to drive back and forth to Tampa. You're not driving back and forth to Tampa. Meanwhile, we're still mediating your case. The second thing is that, for the biggest time, you'd hear in court, well, I need a continuance, or I can't try this case, or I can't set mediation for 6 months because, the other party in the case is in the military and I don't know where they are and I don't know when they're coming back, or they live in Europe, or they live in another country, or they're someplace else. Well, in this situation, there's no excuse. We can mediate almost immediately. We can keep this case rolling and moving forward with this platform. And the other thing that he mentioned is that he writes his agreements while the people are talking. This is, and unless you do this every day like we do, I want you to understand how important that is and how much money that's actually saving you. A lot of times in mediations, we'll spend, and we're going to talk about how long these things last in a minute, but a lot of times we'll spend, 2 hours going back and forth for offers, and then we'll get bullet points. And then the mediator is going to start writing the agreement, and that's going to take another 2 hours. So now you've paid for 4 hours, and you still don't have a signed agreement. What Matt is telling you is that while you're talking, he's writing. So at the end of those 2 hours of negotiations, he hits print, you have your agreement, and then we can start going over that before we sign it. So those are three things that are really, really different. They're very unique. They're cutting edge. It's one of the reasons why I like to use Matt. He's a great mediator, and his technology is phenomenal. I wish you guys can kind of see him, because just looking at him, he's a very edgy kind of guy, and he's he has a lot of advancements with computers. He might be mediating while we talk at the moment. I don't even know. He's always mediating is what it seems like here. But if you're just tuning in, this is Grant Gisondo, the Family Man. We're talking all about mediation today with Matt Brickman, telling us a lot about some of the cutting edge stuff. And I alluded to a moment ago, how long do mediations last? Now, I'm going to tell you my personal experience, then I'm going to ask you yours. The shortest mediation that I've ever had in my life was 9 minutes. Was it a fruitful mediation? No. Did I try to extend it? Yeah. I was like, look, can we work something out here? The other party was like, nope, impasse, meaning no agreement. I'm leaving. There's not much I can do in that situation, because remember, mediation, no one can force you to stay there. You just have to show up. The requirement is that you mediate in good faith. It doesn't mean how long that takes. The longest mediation I've ever had was 20 hours. We started at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we went straight through for 20 hours. Yes, of course, we stopped for bathroom breaks and we stopped for food, but it was extremely long. It was terrible. I don't think I'll ever do that again. I don't think I'll ever go past 9 o'clock at night again without coming back the next day. But Matt, what do you think is your shortest, and what do you think is your longest?
My shortest was 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Okay.
And you alluded to it. The rules say that you have to mediate in good faith, and strangely enough, mediating in good faith means that you have to sit through my opening, where I lay the ground rules. I tell you, okay, what is mediation, and then if you want to get up and leave, you can get up and leave. Granted, I have a 3-hour minimum, so you're paying for 3 hours whether or not we're there for 3 minutes or we're there past 3 hours. So yeah, it was 30 seconds. I walked in, and they had just finished doing depositions, and so I walked in, and so I did my opening, and they said, you can just give us our impasse. And I looked at them and said, will you at least let me do my job? They said, no, just give us our impasse. And I looked at the other attorney and the client. I said, so you want an impasse? They're like, absolutely. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah. And both the clients just slid their credit cards over. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Because now what they were doing, Grant, and sometimes I get this, it's a lot like Willy Wonka. They need their golden ticket, like you said, in order to go to court, because many times you've got to go to mediation before you're going to get a trial date. Well, so they just wanted to fast track it. They weren't going to agree. They didn't want to waste time, because for the attorneys, time is money. You guys bill per minute. And so for these attorneys, they didn't want to sit there spinning their wheels going nowhere when they had other cases, other clients, and other things to do, and they could get these clients off the clock so those clients could take their resources and pay them to go to trial. And so, 30 seconds was my shortest. My longest, I think, was 10, 12 hours straight, which was the longest.
It's a long day.
Which was actually, and I remember that one. That was actually the first same-sex divorce that I did.
Okay.
And we did what, 10, 12 hours? Timesharing only.
Oh boy, one issue. So when he says timesharing only, he means that it was just about spending time with the child.
When is the child going to spend time with mom, and when is the child going to spend time with mom? And that is it. No child support, no equitable distribution, no alimony, nothing.
Okay, so let me clarify. When I did my 20 hours, it was a divorce. They had alimony. They both owned businesses. We had forensic accountants there.
These had that. The only thing is we didn't get to it.
You didn't get to it?
We didn't get to it. No. They had all of that. We just spent 10, 12 hours on just parenting. We had to come back for the rest of it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they had those issues. We just didn't have time to get to them.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
So, everybody, all right. Well, this is Grant Gisondo, the Family Man. I'm the owner of the law offices of Grant Gisondo, PA, a full-service family law firm located in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. I offer a free consultation for any family law case, any family law matter. Give me a call today to book your appointment, 561-530-4568. Talking with Matt Brickman today of imediateinc.com. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come on back to answer some more questions about mediation.
Non-attorney spokesperson.
Without the proper training, diffusing a highly volatile bomb is not something you want to try by yourself. When a marriage is about to explode, the same wisdom applies. Hire a professional or pay the consequence.
Headed for divorce? Diffuse the matter with the guidance of the law offices of Grant Gisondo. Online at sunshinedivorce.com. That's sunshinedivorce.com. Main office in Palm Beach Gardens.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Grant Gisondo, the family man, the owner of the law offices of Grant Gisondo, PA, a full-service family law firm located in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Call me today for a free in-person consultation for any family law case, 561-530-4568, or visit my website online at sunshinedivorce.com. Or if you're feeling adventurous and you want to try to spell my last name, you could always go to gisondolaw.com, spelled GISONDOLAW.com. Talking with Matt Brickman today, a family law mediator, someone that I use very regularly. He's the owner of I Mediate Inc. And before I forget, you also wrote a book on mediation, didn't you?
I did.
What was the name of your book?
It's called You're Not the Only One. It's on iTunes. It's free download. It's sort of my story, how I got into mediation, the battle that I had in my own life that actually got me into mediation.
And the name of the book, one more time,
is You're Not the Only One.
You're Not the Only One. Okay, great.
Yeah, volume 1.
I've actually read the book, everyone, and I'm not going to give anything away. Read the book. It's free. It's free. Yeah. Just read it. It's free. So we're talking all about mediation today. And again, some of the things that we've covered earlier in the show is about why mediation is so important. Number one, the cost. I was actually in court this morning. I set a case for trial. I got a trial date of August 2018.
Sounds about right.
That's a really long wait.
Yeah.
To get your day in court. Matt, if I wanted to, let's say, book you for mediation as opposed to waiting to August 2018 because my client wants to stay in control of his future and doesn't want to let a judge decide, I could probably get a mediation date 30 days out? 45?
Much sooner than that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I work days, I work nights, I work weekends. Sometimes, as you well know, our weeks can really fill up.
Yep.
And I've actually worked with and without attorneys because, I do pro se mediation where there's no attorneys, but most of what I do does have attorneys. And I've had where attorneys are like, look, they're busy. Everybody's busy and trying to coordinate, for your paralegals out there, it's like coordinated a small army because you're trying to get your schedule and opposing counsel schedule and my schedule. Then you've got two party schedules. And sometimes you may have a guardian ad litem or you may have a forensic accountant or, it's a small.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. And so I've done Saturday mediations where they're like, will you work a Saturday? I'm like, you're working a Saturday? I'm like, yeah, I'll work a Saturday. I've worked the past 4 Saturdays.
Yep.
So, I'm used to it. I also work evenings. People are like, well, will you work late? I'm like, yeah. What I try not to do, and going back to what you were saying earlier about, these epic mediations, these 20-hour mediations, is what I've learned is I try not to go past an 8-hour mark for mediation because what I don't want is I don't want the risk, and for me, my job is to empower. But at a certain point, it's difficult to empower when you are just tired, you're worn out, you're exhausted. And what I don't want is then the parties to sign an agreement just to get done and then tomorrow wake up with buyer's remorse or mediation remorse. And then go and hire a new attorney, maybe not yourself because you were part of the settlement negotiation. So get another attorney and then try to have it set aside. And then like, oh, well, I was under duress. I was coerced. I was tired. I didn't know what I was signing. And I don't want to set people up for failure. What we do is, by using the mediation as the vehicle to get them through the judicial system, it's to set them up for success so that they're not having problems. I tell people all the time, I'm so glad I met you. I never want to see you in this setting again. If I see you out and about, awesome. Not in this setting. I don't want the repeat business, even though, as you well know, usually people make bad decisions and then they make worse decisions.
They do.
And so I've actually done divorces for a party. And then a couple years later, they call me. It's like, hey, you did a great job with my divorce. Can you do another one? And I'm like, you got married? They're like, yeah, this one didn't work either. And so sometimes you do see the repeat business.
It's funny you said that. I would say about 40% come back. I see a second time, either with a second marriage or we did the first agreement and now they want to modify it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes some of my clients feel like they did too well. And sometimes they feel like they can push the envelope a little further now.
Okay.
And even though sometimes I have to explain to them, look, we did really well the first time. You win the lotto, you stop playing the lotto. You don't keep playing the game.
Right.
You're pulling the handle on the slot machine. You hit the jackpot, you stop playing for the night, and you go do something else. But I would say about 40% in my practice that I see again. And yeah, if people make bad decisions, sometimes they continue to make bad decisions. We try to educate them so they're making better decisions, and maybe they're not ending up in the same situation that they were in originally.
And don't you always find that when we're helping the parties are like, I'm never going to do this again.
Every time.
And then you get that call, hey, I need to get divorced. Yep. I'm like, what happened to I'm never going to do this again? Right. Oh my gosh, she was amazing. Well, so why isn't it working if she's so amazing? Well, she's not amazing anymore.
Right.
And you're like,
no,
okay.
It's true. And the more they say, I'm never going to do this again, the more I'm telling them, hey, do me a favor, just save my number, because I know I'm going to see you again. The more they try to convince themselves, it's almost like they're trying to convince themselves.
Yeah.
It's like they know.
Yeah.
They know they're going to come back. So don't be a statistic is why I'm telling you guys this. Make the best agreement. Let your attorney, let your mediator work with you so you can get the best agreement possible. And that's kind of the whole purpose of why we do this and why we get you guys to stay in control.
Preventative maintenance instead of damage control.
It's just like doing an oil change on your in your car. Don't wait till your engine seizures up. Just change your oil. Exactly. It's relatively simple. So one of the biggest things with mediation, and this is always what I tell people, is that mediation is a safe place. And it's a safe place to discuss your concerns. It's a safe place to discuss what you have or why you think a judge might rule for you. And why it's a safe place is because it's confidential, meaning that whatever you say in mediation stays in mediation. Whatever evidence you show to the other side can't really be used against you unless they use another vehicle to get it, which is going to be the subject of another show, because we could talk for hours about that. But anything you learn in mediation should remain confidential. And there's confidentiality rules, and that's part of the opening that you give before every mediation, right?
Right. So my job, again, as I've already explained, is to empower the parties. But, I look at mediation as a controlled burn. Because, in order to rebuild, like I said, we're not just tearing things apart, we're restructuring. And in order to restructure, a lot of times we just have to burn down the old so we can cultivate and replant something new, and it grows and it's successful. But in order to have a controlled burn, you've got to have trust. And generally when the parties come in, they don't have trust. They don't even have zero trust. They have sub-zero trust. And by having confidentiality in place, it helps get them to a place of being able to open up and start rebuilding trust with a secure security like an attorney, with a facilitator like a mediator, where it's not that they're just two people on their own trying to then reestablish trust. You're holding their hand. I'm helping guide everybody. And so you're doing that. But you've got to have that confidentiality. And so, in my opening, we talk about everything that we talk about in mediation is private and confidential. But what a lot of people fail to realize is it's not just in mediation. It's even after mediation. You're not supposed to go home and tell your mother, your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your coworker about what happened in mediation.
And
it's
your
private,
kids, folks.
And
your
definitely
kids.
Your kids.
Do not tell the kids that you're talking about in mediation what happened at mediation after mediation. Besides breaching confidentiality, this just breaks the don't be a jerk rule. Remember we spoke a little bit about that. Don't talk to your kids about what we talk about. It's not cool.
The only time I recommend that, and there's only one time ever, is if the parties do come to an agreement and they've got children that and it's totally age appropriate. It's, and there really isn't a number. You can't say 8 because I know some really immature 8-year-olds.
Right.
You can't say 12. I mean, so really it's up to the parents. But what I encourage parents to do is when they create a time-sharing plan is to go to a neutral place, go to a restaurant, go somewhere neutral, and actually sit the children down and say, we, as a united front, because this goes to what you were saying in your other show about parental alienation.
Right.
We, as a united front, have come up with this agreement. It's not your mother's agreement, and Mom, it's not your father's agreement. This is our agreement. And so by putting everybody on the same page, that helps keep the kids from playing the parents and becoming manipulative just to survive the situation. That's the only time I would ever recommend talking to the children about a mediation agreement, is to just say, this is how we're going to structure our family. This is when you're going to stay with your mom. This is when you're going to stay with your dad. And this is what we think is the best, so that it shows a united front.
Right.
But I mean, confidentiality is so important that and I tell people, do not bring anybody to mediation. They're not coming into mediation.
That's a hard and fast rule that I have,
Yeah,
is that
they
I
are
don't
not coming.
allow third parties in mediations ever, unless there's really crazy circumstances of why they should be, unless you need like a translator. That's
Possibly.
a different story.
But yeah, I mean, definitely don't bring anybody, because you can't leave mediation and go out to the waiting room and talk to them, because it's private and confidential. I mean, I keep running into this where people are either texting, calling, taking pictures, and sending them in mediation. And I actually found online the other day, Grant, that for $79.99 you can get a cell phone jammer, and I'm like, I should have one in my bag for mediation.
It's a great idea.
Just to block all communication, because it's not good when you are breaching those rules of confidentiality, because things can explode. Or I mean, I'll give you an example. I've had it where a party was texting somebody that wasn't part of the mediation, and they were texting the other party threatening them.
See, that's
the
worse.
whole thing just fell apart. We
Sure.
had to stop mediation, and that's not a service to the children who become the collateral damage here, because as you said, the parties didn't follow that hard and straight rule of don't be a jerk.
Right. Don't be a jerk. It's funny, because I actually had a client. I was representing the wife, and the husband was represented by another attorney. And the other attorney, confided in me after the mediation, and we did settle the case, but he was actually texting his mother. Hey, this is what they're offering. Should I take this deal?
Right.
Why are you asking your mother? You have a family law attorney that you're paying hourly.
That is exactly what I said.
Why would you do that?
That's exactly what I said, because this one was texting her sister, and I said, what is your attorney sitting here for? And what was really sad, Grant, was she actually said, and we're like, look, if you guys don't settle, then that's going to be evidence that's coming in to court, and the attorney's like, yeah, and I don't have a legal argument for you. And so the client said right to her, well, then I guess I'll get a new attorney for that. Really?
If I find out that somebody's texting somebody about the mediation, I promise you, if we don't settle the case at mediation before that client even leaves the office, I'm writing a subpoena.
Yeah.
And I'm sending a subpoena to that person, and I'm getting everything that they said in the mediation, especially when they call me not so nice names. That's like the first thing I put on as evidence to the judge. It's like, look, judge, just to give you an idea of what this person's all about. Anyway, we're not going to talk about trial tactics today, but if you're just catching the end of the show here, this is Grant Gisondo, the family man. I'm with Matt Brickman, the owner of imediateinc.com. That's imediateinc.com. We're talking all about mediations today. One thing that I do want to mention to everybody, regarding a mediation, is everybody's role. One thing you need to understand is that Matt is not an attorney, right?
Correct.
You're not an attorney. Sometimes mediators are attorneys.
Yep.
They don't have to be. There's no requirement. I obviously am an attorney. I'm also a mediator. I'm a Supreme Court certified civil mediator. I don't do any family law mediation because I don't have a license to do that, but I am licensed to mediate civil cases. But, why did I do that? Well, that's the subject of a different show. But right now, I'm a family law litigation attorney, and that's what I'm doing. So understand that your mediator can't give you legal advice. And that's why, you might be thinking, well, why don't I just go to mediation without attorneys and just cut that expense out? It's because, the mediator can't give you legal advice. The mediator might know the law, probably because he does it every day and he deals with attorneys every day and he has intellectual.
Hopefully they know the law.
Hopefully they know the law.
Otherwise they probably shouldn't be mediating.
Right. But they can't really tell you what the law is and what you should do.
Actually, it's not that you can't really. You can't.
You can't.
Period. It's
You
a hard
cannot.
and fast line.
Okay.
You can't, because otherwise you can be charged with unauthorized practice of law.
Yep.
UPL.
Which is a crime in Florida.
Yes. And so, and I have a reputation, but I also have a company, and I can lose my certification.
Sure.
And it's, plus, for me, integrity and media and being honorable and doing the right thing and being someone of my word is so important to me that I'm just not going to do that.
Yep.
And so what I do, Grant, when, if parties come unrepresented is I will email them before we get to mediation. I'll email them Chapter 61 Florida statute. And I say, look, I am not going to give you legal advice. I cannot give you legal advice. Don't ask me for legal advice, but I give them the law. Let them research it on their own. If they want to learn it, fine. If they don't, fine. But I tell them, I am not going to give you legal advice. And I get a lot of calls too, even after mediation, where parties are asking me about the agreement.
Should I have done this? Should I have done that?
Or where's this? And I tell them, I say, look, you need, and it's weird. I guess they call me because I'm not charging them per minute.
Right.
If they called you, you're going to charge. But a lot of times, what it is it's clarification. They're looking through their agreement. They don't know. They know it's somewhere in those 14 to 20 pages, but they're sort of in that cloud after mediation. They're like, okay, I know it's here. Where's it? And so what I do is I say, look, I can't give you legal advice, but I can show you what you agreed to.
Right.
And I just point out in their agreement. And going back, you had said about texting. One of the reasons why I prefer everything in writing is because for me, not being an attorney, not being able to give legal advice, I want everything in writing, because what I don't want is I don't want someone then going, oh well, I called and talked to Matthew and he told me
this.
No,
yeah.
That's why I like texting better than phone call. Now I'll talk to you on the phone, absolutely, right, because things may need to be explained. But I prefer text and email for that exact reason.
It's funny. I got an email about that, and someone said to me, why is it that you're so against texting? And I'm not against texting. The reason why I want to talk to you or I want to see you in my office is because I don't know it's you that's texting me. And if I gave legal advice to somebody that was not my client, I could be in a lot of trouble for that. And I could potentially have to withdraw as your representation and no longer represent you because I've now conflicted because I had a conversation with maybe a represented party. So I want to make sure I'm talking to my clients. I'm
not giving legal advice. So
it's a different story.
It's a little bit of a different story. And actually, I want it for CYA, but you don't need it for CYA.
Right, exactly. So just to tell you guys a little bit about the roles. Like I said, the attorney, that's the person that's giving you legal advice on maybe what your position is, what the law is, and things like that. Your mediator is your facilitator of the conversation, kind of doing the legwork, going back and forth, trying to get through issues. And Matt's got some great tricks, by the way, to get people talking. And I'm not going to go into specific stories because we can't.
Yeah, but you love the Globe.
I love the Globe. I love it. It's a story. You know what, you guys, if you want to know about the Globe, send me an email.
You're going to have to come to mediation.
Come to mediation and you know what? Send me an email, grant@sunshinedivorce.com, and say, I want to hear about the Globe.
Yeah.
And we were going to tell you, and if let's say 10 people send that email in, at the next show, we'll tell the Globe story. We'll have Matt pop in just for 5 minutes to talk about the Globe, because it's a great story.
Globe's awesome.
And then you have your party, and your party is your decision maker in these type of situations. So the person, the decision maker, the mediator, the facilitator, the attorney, the person that's going to provide legal advice to you. And those are basically your roles. Just to kind of give you guys an idea, mediation is something that you have to believe in, and everybody does. It's an essential, it's a large part of a family law process. It's a huge legal process. One thing I don't think that we said is that typically after your mandatory disclosure is done, and if you don't know what mandatory disclosure is, go listen to 2 shows ago because I did a whole show about it. Okay, it's on my website, sunshinedivorce.com. Click on radio shows. After you do mandatory disclosure, you have to go to mediation before you file any type of a motion seeking relief at court. After you do that, and if you get an impasse, and by the way, an impasse just means you don't agree on anything. It means you can go to court, you're on to the next step. But after you do that, let's say you litigate the case for a while, and then you ask the court to set a trial date. Well, one of the first things that's in that trial order, go back to mediation and try again.
Right.
So sometimes you're in mediation twice. In some jurisdictions, 3 times.
I've actually had 5.
5. Okay. It depends on the judge.
Yeah. I mean, I've had 5. I've had where they need to, they want their trial date, so they got to come to mediation. They didn't settle. So fine, 10 days prior to their trial, they have to come. They go to court and the judge is like, I'm not doing this. So they sent them back to mediation with instruction.
Yep.
So they went back to mediation. They still could not figure it out. They wanted a new trial date. They had to go to mediation. They still wouldn't deal with it. So 10 days prior, again, they went. I mean, it's like
you go back and forth.
But the reason for it, Grant, is Florida was one of the first states that ever enacted mediation back in 1987. And we actually have modeled for the country what mediation looks like. And, you and I had a conversation earlier about, there's not another state that I would rather do mediation in or be part of family law than Florida, because we are cutting edge.
Yeah, we are.
And so, it has been around for a long time, and it's getting better and better. I've been doing it for 11 years. I got divorced 15 years ago, and I just, if I had a mediation agreement like the ones that I write now, and this was long before I was a mediator, but if I had that mediation agreement, it probably would have saved us a lot of litigation between my ex and I, because, back then it's just sort of willy-nilly. It was still better than other states, but it has gotten so much more preventative maintenance instead of damage control. And it's really empowered people. It's cut down on litigation, which cuts down on taxes.
Yep.
When people go to court, that's the taxpayers' money.
Right.
Well, and so people have a vested interest in settling when it's their dollar on the line.
Yeah. And, if you guys have any questions about that, about really how it saves you, I promise you that going to mediation and settling your case is the cheapest way out of a divorce. It's the cheapest way out of basically, your entire situation for any case. So I'd like to thank you very much, Matt, for coming and talking with us today. It was a pleasure to have you on. I hope that everybody enjoyed the show. Again, Matt's website is imediateinc.com. The name of his book, that's free on iTunes, one more time.
You're Not the Only One.
You're Not the Only One, free on iTunes. Read it. If you have any questions about today's show, email me directly, grant@sunshinedivorce.com. This is Grant Gisondo, the family man, the owner of the law offices of Grant Gisondo, PA, a full-service family law firm located in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Call me today for a free, I'll say it again, free in-person consultation for any family law case. 561-530-4568. We will see you next week. We hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Good night.
Non-attorney spokesperson.
Without the proper training, diffusing a highly volatile bomb is not something you want to try by yourself. When a marriage is about to explode, the same wisdom applies. Hire a professional or pay the consequence.
Headed for divorce? Diffuse the matter with the guidance of the law offices of Grant Gisondo. Online at sunshindivor.com. That's sunshindivor.com. Main office in Palm Beach Gardens.